pajamas. So I'm going to walk you through a dynamic warm-up that we're going to touch everything, we're going to get everything warm, but it's also very beginner. This routine, this warm-up is basically going to teach you some fundamental movements that are necessary to progress from here. It might feel like a workout at first. In fact, people are usually like, how is this possibly just the warm-up? But you will gain fitness through this. You will take advantage of the warm-up period and feel like you're getting fitter because of the warm-up. And most importantly, it's going to turn you on and prep you for a good workout. So follow along with me. We're going to do about 6 repetitions of everything. In your own workout, you can do 6 with me, or as you get better, you can add a couple reps onto this and maybe do about 8 to 10 of everything. So we're going to begin with leg swings. This is one of my favorite ones to kind of warm up the hips and get them loosened up and ready to go. So you just want something stable. I have the handlebar of my stationary bike, but you can also use a railing. You could use a pole, anything that's stationary, and hold on to it and stand up really straight with good posture. And you're going to take one leg and swing it forward and back 8 times. Now you want to swing it in a way that it's not tipping your body all the way over. Keep yourself as upright as possible. You can even lock in your core. Try to flex your core muscles and swing from the hips. Now I'm keeping my foot flexed too, which is important. And then go ahead and switch sides. Swing that hip. Really feel the front and the back sides of that hip open up. And then once we do forward and back, you're actually going to turn sideways and you're going to swing your legs sideways. Okay, so almost like an inner outer thigh motion. So you're going to swing out and then across. You do want the foot that's on the floor, you want it squared up to where you're facing. So if you're facing the wall or a pole or a railing, or like I have the bike handle here, point it directly at that. That's going to keep your body squared up. Okay, side to side, always good posture, swinging from the hips. About 8 of these. And after that, we're going to lay down on the floor. And we're going to do something called a floor angel. So go ahead and get down onto the floor. Lay on the floor with your back down, feet flat, knees bent. And in this position, the first thing you want to do is what we call a pelvic tilt. So you're actually going to tuck your tailbone under so that your back connects with the floor. It presses down into the floor, and you feel a good connection between your low back and the floor. You want to hold that the whole time. And while you're holding that, don't forget to breathe. In that position where you're maintaining that pelvic tilt, it's easy to really grip and kind of hold hard and not actually breathe, so make sure you're breathing. So holding that pelvic tilt position, we're going to bring your arms up and open out to the side, kind of along the floor, and you'll feel your whole forearm laying flat on the floor, and you're going to slide your elbow down, and then you're going to go up. Now through that full range of motion, you want to stay in contact with the floor the whole time. If you come to here and your hand pops up, don't go that far. Okay, only go to here if you need to. So always stay in a range of motion that you have good control and you keep everything touching. And you'll feel a little bit of a squeeze through your shoulder blades. You can squeeze them together at the bottom and then going up. Okay, so that's the floor angel. Now after the floor angel, we're going to flip over and we're going to get into a tall plank position. So tall plank, which just means that you're up on your hands like a push-up, and you want to get your body nice and flat. Get your hips low, you don't want them high up in the air. Shoulders should be directly over your hands, and you're just going to draw your knee towards your chest. Very carefully, very slowly. You don't want to draw it in so far that you round your back. Okay, we're going to go 6 with one leg, nice and low. You can even drag your toe along the floor. Let's go ahead and switch feet. Nice flat body. There's 2. Shoulders are right over your hands, so we're working on core strength here. We're working on a hip flexion motion. Give me one more. Good. And we're going to stand up and do some basic bodyweight squats. So plant your feet a little wider than hip width apart. Keep your feet planted down. Don't let your heels come up. We're going to shift our weight backwards, almost like you're trying to sit on something far behind you, and sink down into a squat, and then come back up. Reach really far forward with your hands. Really far back with your booty. Forward with the hands, back with the booty. Let me show you from the side angle. That booty should go way out behind you. Weight is still through your heels. There it is again, and one more. Perfect, so kind of reinforcing some good squat pattern. Okay, so now we're gonna do some moving ones. So this is just gonna work on kind of traveling across the floor with good technique. So this is a walking high knee motion. So we're gonna stand up tall with good posture, and you're just gonna draw your knee up, and you wanna keep this foot flexed. Good balance, we're working on standing on one leg. And then go ahead and step forward, and switch sides. Do the other side, pull your knee up, keep that foot flexed. Working on your balance here, your posture, your shoulders are back. Switch legs. Let's turn around, I'm running out of space. So you're gonna go forward. That knee pulls up. That foot stays flexed. There we go, let's go one more lap here. That knee should be directly in front of your hip. Shouldn't be flared out to the side. Hips are level. Shoulders are back. Turn around again if you need to. If you have a long space, if you have like the length of your living room here, that's perfect. You can go the whole length of your living room. So now we're going to go straight leg. So instead of your knee bent, you can see how I have my hands open and out to the side. What that does is it just tells my shoulders that they need to be down and back. So I like to do that. You don't have to do that here, but it does actually help with your posture. So we're going to do a straight leg march now. So kick your leg up straight. Make sure that that knee doesn't bend. Your foot stays flexed. Abs are tight. Good posture. Don't be arching your back here. Keep your tailbone kind of tucked under you. Rib cage is under you. Kick that leg up. Turn around. We'll go again. You can almost feel like your heel is pressing, kind of sliding up in front of you and out. Continue. Perfect. So after the straight leg march, we're going to do a walking heel to butt. Okay, so another walking one where you're actually going to pull your foot up behind you, kicking your heel up behind you. So you get a dynamic quad stretch here where you're actually going to stretch the front of your thigh just a little bit. We'll increase that stretch in a minute, but we're just moving through the movement pattern here where you're flexing the knee. Working on that single leg balance again. So now we're going to grab that foot and pull it up behind you. Pull it into your butt. Make sure that your hips are locked and that knee goes straight down to the floor. Pull that heel in. And then turning around, we're going to add a little bit extra movement to it. So standing on one foot, we're going to try leaning forward a little bit. You don't have to go too far. You might lose your balance or lose your control. Now if you can't even grab your foot behind you, that's okay. Just do it like the first method I showed you where you're just kicking your heel to your butt. But if you can do this part of it, this is great. Perfect. So now we're going to do some split squats, which are basically, they look like lunges, but they're done in place. That's the difference between a lunge and a split squat. A lunge, you're going to step in and out of it. Your feet actually come off of the floor. With a split squat, your feet never leave the floor. They stay in one spot. So we're going to line up like a lunge, and you got to spread your feet pretty wide, wider than you think you should have them. You're going to be lifted up on the heel, on the back foot. Your shoulders are squared up directly to where you're pointing. Your hips are squared up, and we're going to sink down into what looks like a lunge. If you can get that back knee to come down to the floor, and then push through this heel, drive through your heel to come back up. Drive through that heel to come back up. Let's do a couple more. Make sure you're not arching too far back. Make sure you're not collapsing forward. You want your torso perfectly vertical. Okay, so now we're going to do the right leg forward, and I'll face you this time so you can see the angle. So feet are spread further than you think. You're lined up, shoulders are straight. You're going to come straight down. This knee does not flare out to the side or go in. Drive through that heel to stand back up. Heel. You can even put your hands up behind your head in a prisoner position to make it a little bit more challenging. You'll actually feel stretched through this thigh too. So after the split squats, we're going to do a side split squat where you're going to line up super wide. Okay, so your feet are probably about 4 feet apart here. This is another one that you usually need to line up wider than you think. Most people will line up too narrow, and when they go into the side split squat, their hips are way out over their feet. You want to be wider than you think. Okay, toes pointing straight forward. You don't want them flared out. Toes pointing straight forward, and we're going to sink to one side, kicking your booty back. Okay, and I'm reaching my arms forward, almost like a signal to my butt that it needs to go in the opposite direction. This leg stays straight. You're going to feel a stretch down the inside of that foot, or down the inside of that thigh. Weight is all back in my heel over here. Sink down, and as you get into this a little bit more, you can go deeper and really get the stretch going. So let's switch sides. Okay, that booty is sticking out way out behind you. Really engage, really focus on that hip hinge. Get that hip way back. You don't want your knee to flare out or stay in. Keep your knee right above your foot. Give me 2 more here. Here we go, feet stay flat. Good. Now we're going to pick up the pace a little bit. We're going to do a high knee jog. This you can do in place, or you can move around the room a little bit if you want to, but basically you're going to try to jog, picking your knees up to hip height, okay? Let's go about 20 of these. Here's 20, okay? We're going to finish up with some jumping jacks. So this is a little bit of a really mild plyometric, moving laterally with your feet, so in and out, in and out. And we're going to add some arm swings, so 20 of these. If that's too hard, you can do it with just a tap, okay? If your body is not up for jumping, which is fine, some people's joints are not there yet, you can absolutely still do this just by tapping, okay? And that's the end of a basic dynamic warm-up. Make sure you always warm up like this. Doesn't have to be this one, but something similar to this always, always, always before your workouts.